Hey guys, this is Ram. I'm from OpenLedger. I'm one of the core contributors here. Good to see you guys here today, and I'm glad that I'm going to give the last session. Probably, I'm sure that you're all tired and bored, but still, bear with me for like 10 15 minutes. Uh, yeah, okay. So, the overall idea behind this talk is how specialized models are the future and how generalized models are not good enough, right? What do I mean by generalized models? Generalized models are basically LLMs, models that are trained on internet data. I'm sure that you all know about Llama, you all know about DeepSeek, Grok, or OpenAI's model. All of these models are majorly trained on internet data because that's the data that is readily available, which we can scrape and start using it right away. But specialized models are models which are trained on specialized data sets predominantly owned by businesses or subject matter experts. And we'll talk about how that can be useful for building better agents. I'm gonna go to the next one. Yeah. So as you all spoke, AI is obviously changing our life. I'm pretty sure that you guys know this. We already use AI in almost every other activity that we do in our day-to-day business. We use AI in our notes. We use AI to schedule our meetings. We use AI to help us be much more productive. It's going to be much more bigger. We probably start to see physical AI and agents, which is just going to be probably day-to-day life interactions. We're going to see AI riding a cab, an agent which will replace our doctors. That's going to be how our future is. And Web3 has always been a technology which supports emerging tech, right? Or also provides fairness to text that has been emerged already. And in Web3 recently, the biggest talk is AI, right? And under three major components, one is decentralized compute, another one is decentralized data and models, and then agents. Compute is pretty much solved. We have players like Ionet, Aether, who've pretty much solved the compute problem in AI. This happened in the traditional space. NVIDIA was the first person to just come out, the team to come out to build compute, which is good enough to have larger language models to be built. And that gave the rise of these models that we see today. Very similarly, in Web3, we have the existing Web3 platforms which have already solved the compute problem. But the next thing that is emerging and has been very speculative is the decentralized agent space, where most of the agents have been very memeish, glorified Twitter bots. And this happened 2 years back, right? When ChatGPT launched, most of them were ChatGPT wrappers, right? It did not have any utility. It will just talk about a particular subject, uh, being like a wrapper on top of ChatGPT with some system prompts. But that evolved, that changed, right? Agents and apps in traditional space became much better, and they had a purpose, they had a utility to solve. Apps like Perplexity, right? These apps use models which are specialized for a particular task. Like if you ask a query to Perplexity, it understands your query using OpenAI, and then probably use, let's say, a math model to understand the math question and give you an answer for that, right? That's how these agents have evolved. They use a swarm of models, a larger language model to understand context, and then a smaller language model to actually give you the result. So what really changed, obviously, is the data and the models. And let's just talk more about the current stage of agents, right? As I told you, the current agents are very memeish. Some of these agents have been in Web3, have been like chatbots where you can talk to it, get access to like tokenized, gated community accesses. You can interact with it. It'll just respond only if you like prompt it. Some of them experimented with launching like DeFi agents, but most of them have been majorly human driven. Human has to go ahead and give an intent for it to actually execute. It is not completely autonomous. There was always a human in the loop. What we will see to evolve in Web3, very similar to the traditional space, these agents will become much more specialized. There'll be agents launched for a particular task. We'll see these agents getting adaptive. They'll try to understand how a human behaves, how an on-chain activity will happen, and behave accordingly. We'll see more agents being like proactive, right? Being autonomous, where there is no human involved. We just give an intent, and it goes ahead and executes the task for you. Right? Let's say I want to make $10,000 for the rest of the month. and I give you $1,000. It figures out the way to go ahead and execute those tasks, either does a swap or stakes, or do whatever that's necessary for you to give that money, right? And I also believe that very similarly, as I told you about in the traditional space, agents and apps will become swarm of bunch of agents working together, where they'll use multiple models and they'll work together with each other to give you a solution than an individual agent doing something for you, right? But what do you require for this? I'll skip this one. What do you require for this? You need a much better specialized data set and a model that can enable this to happen. And as you all spoke about, most of models that we see today are trained on internet data, which is not good enough. Like how humans are, we need education in a particular sector for us to be an expert in that particular field. How a surgeon is much precise and better than compared to a general practitioner. You need agents to behave the same way. You need to provide the knowledge and the database and models that's required to agents to perform what they are, right? We've seen specialized models being used in the traditional space. There are many models that are currently being used. There are models like MedFarm in healthcare. There are models like Bloomberg GPT in finance, BioBird, and many more. All of these are larger language models which have been trained on a particular data set. So OpenLedger is this platform that enables you to bring in your own data set or propose to build a model and have the community to contribute data sets. It could be a business or a subject matter expert contributing data sets on top of us and using our platform to go ahead and build models. We have an attribution layer that brings it all together. Anyone who contributes data sets on top of us and builds a model, they can reward and attribute back to the data contributors. Let's talk much more. This is the model lifecycle. Let's talk about each lifecycle that goes in through OpenLedger. The first is the model proposal. This is where a subject matter expert or an end user goes ahead and proposes a model. The model could be a topic around DeFi, and then he could set certain rules. He could tokenize his model, and he could set incentives for people to contribute data to this model. This is the first layer. This is where the model goes on-chain, it's stored, and tokenized as well. The second layer is the data layer, which shows up the models that were proposed, which got enough stake. And this is where data contributors can go ahead and contribute data sets. These data sets could be documents, or it could be training data sets, answers to certain questions, or it could be code. It depends on the model that was proposed. All of the data that is contributed goes on-chain. The actual data gets stored off-chain. The hash of the data goes on-chain. And this is the platform which the major of the data contributors interact with. The third layer is where we let people populate these data sets that has been contributed for these models. And it's a no-code fine-tuning platform where data sets are pulled up and trained on existing open source models. We provide various number of open source models, which include Llama, DeepSeek, Grok, and many more. They could choose these models and decide to go ahead and train on top of us. And data sets are populated. Once the training is done, we also let them evaluate these models. They can query these models, they can ask questions to the model using the chatbot and figure out what's wrong and probably do your retraining and whatever is necessary to make sure this model comes out well. This is the platform in which the model gets optimized and launched. Post this is the deployment layer. This is where the model gets deployed. We work with various GPU partners like Aether and Ionit, which provide us with compute. OpenLoRa is a framework where you could launch multiple specialized models in one single GPU. We don't need one model for one GPU. We let the base model run on one GPU and have like LoRa adapters, the fine-tuned layers to be brought in as adapters. Whenever that it's called for, it runs on that particular GPU. The last part is the attribution layer, where we let people attribute back to the data contributors. When a model gets used, on every inference or model, we figure out which data contributed for that inference to happen. We figure out the weightage of that data, and then we move it on chain. Using that, you can reward the data contributors. You could also figure out price discovery. Anyone can know what is their data's worth for by seeing it on chain. They could figure out the price of the data. We could also explain the model better. Explaining a larger language model is pretty difficult because it's a black box. We don't know what it went through, what algorithm it's used. But explaining a fine-tuned layer of the model is much easier, and that's what we do. We figure out when a model gets used, someone interacts with the model, and there's an inference. On that inference, we know which data actually caused this to happen. And if something goes wrong, let's say using that inference and agent goes rogue, we'll be able to know which data actually caused that, and we'll be able to attribute back and make sure that data is removed, that poison data is taken care of. So that brings the explainability of the models on top of OpenLedger. All of this is on-chain, and the entire provenance can be seen on-chain, right from the model to the data that is contributed to the attribution layer. All of this is moved on-chain on top of OpenLedger. These are some real-world applications currently being built on top of OpenLedger. These are products currently built in the testnet of our product's lifecycle. I'll show more of this. There is a data intelligence layer currently being built. This is built by an ex-Google DeepMind team. Think of this to be verticalized, specialized versions of internet data. They've taken Common Crawl, gone much more deeper into that. Then there is a DeFi model being currently built, which has on-chain and off-chain sentiments being trained with the Llama model, which helps you launch DeFi agents. There is a Move model being built on top of us, which has think of that to be like a customized version of Cursor, which is a programming language model. This model understands Move much better. It's trained on Move datasets, including code descriptions, documentations, and many other Move-related solutions. And it just makes you build a better Move copilot compared to the generic models that is there. Same goes with the Solidity model that's being built on our platform right now. This is trained on Solidity data. This is also going to enable auditing copilots to be built on top of this. So anyone can go ahead and audit smart contracts. So these are some of the models that are being built on top of OpenLedger currently. So that's what we do. That's our product. We've been in the space over the last 1 year. Think of us to be like the Web3 form of Hugging Face. I would like to compare ourselves very similarly to what happened in the YouTube era. When web was getting created, web needed content, right? For us to be making sure that web is useful, you needed a lot of content on web. And YouTube is one platform that enabled content creators to go ahead and contribute content on the web and get monetized for that. It also brought in YouTubers as a profession. It also brought in businesses to contribute content to YouTube and get paid for that because they know they're going to get monetized. Very similarly, in OpenLedger, we want to index data to AI. So we let data contributors and businesses to come forward and contribute the data, which is where the gold mine is, which is where the actual data sets are useful. We want them to contribute this data so models can be built on top of that, and then they can monetize it and get rewarded for that. So that's what we do, and I hope it made sense and you guys liked what we do. We are in testnet right now. We are going mainnet soon, and would love to have you guys check out the product. And you can check out our website. You get access to our testnet. And if you have any questions, I'll be around and happy to talk about that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Ram.